that's the way it always goes, you know. But there were several points that struck me as like pretty prolific, pretty brilliant on his behalf. We can get into them one by one during the course of the show.
I'm looking forward to that. We saw Samuel L. Jackson make a cameo on several occasions, kind of as a narrator to walk us through the brilliance of Kendrick Lamar in that hour. And he brought it all the way up to the contemporary context with, of course, in the audience, President Donald Trump. He walked us through the African American experience, and he told his truth, a truth that all Americans needed to hear and they needed to understand. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Miles Marshall Lewis is with us, and he's going to break down the performance of Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com could help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly in your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Miles Marshall Lewis, fiction writer, music journalist, literary editor, essayist, and pop cultural critic. Miles, why don't we start with the motivation behind Kendrick Lamar? Share with us his consciousness and where that comes from. Who is Kendrick Lamar?
Right. Well, Kendrick Lamar was born in Compton, right? And so he's always been influenced by the West Coast MCs. You know, he got put on by Dr. Dre after his mixtape era and his era of putting things out by himself. He's affiliated with TDE, which was, an independent record label that blew up on his shoulders. And now he's independent with his own thing. Um, let's say that he came up during an era of golden age MCs and being influenced by the golden age hip hop rappers like Eminem and Tupac and Biggie Smalls and DMX, you know. So I'm sure he's done his diligence to go even further back to the lyrics of Public Enemy and like the social conscious era of MCs like Rakim and Boogie Down Productions, KRS
Wow.
One, you know, from the 1980s. So yeah, he takes his craft seriously. He's definitely like a prodigy in terms of having sharpened his pen in his teenage years. You know, he's sort of like a short story writer in a sense. You know, his lyrics have always been very literary and take you through a journey. And as you pay attention to his lyrics and to his storytelling, sure, you hear Slick Rick and you hear Biggie Smalls, but you also hear literally Maya Angelou guesting on his debut major label album, Good Kid, Mad City.
Mhm.
And you know, he crafts albums as sort of concept albums, you know, so they take you through a journey. You need to hear the entire thing. It's not the shuffle culture of, you know, the iPod where you can just listen to songs out of order or you know, like experience his albums as okay, well, there's filler there that I don't need to pay attention to. No, you know, that's not Kendrick. So you know, he's very bright. He has a Pulitzer Prize for
Amazing.
the album Damn, which is the first time that it had ever been awarded to someone outside of the realms of jazz and classical music. And I think it was well deserved, and I think that he could have even been awarded it previous to Damn for To Pimp a Butterfly, for example, or even the album I mentioned, Good Kid, Mad City. You know, I think they all deserve it.
Miles, what is obvious, at least for me, but some people may not be making the connection or the leap to understand that sometimes we dismiss um, our brilliance behind the idea of just being a rapper. But you're talking about not only a poet laureate, you're talking about a Pulitzer Prize winning thinker, someone, as you stated, has given tremendous thought to their craft, has given tremendous thought to our history. But clearly, from the Super Bowl performance, he has also given an extraordinary amount of thought to the contemporary political context that African Americans find themselves in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, before the performance started, he promised us storytelling, you know, and that's what he excels at. And so when you watch that 13 minutes, you're taken through a journey, you know. And I expected no less of him, and he delivered. You know, the entire stage was set up like a PlayStation controller, and it set the stage for him telling us that basically we're in the game of America, right? I mean, you know, sure there was the illusion of the Super Bowl game, you know, and the overall America's favorite pastime of the football game, but it was deeper than that, you know. The players on the field didn't actually realize that they were in a PlayStation controller, so you know, so
Wow.
there's that added thing of like
Wow.
you can't see the forest for the trees, you know, just like the citizens of America, the black citizens of America don't realize that we're being played, you know, or that we're in a game, you know.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, there's the PlayStation controller for those who don't play PlayStation has symbols on it, right? There's a circle, there's a square, there's a triangle. These are the same symbols that appear in Squid Game, the Netflix series that features people, you know, killing each other for money. And there's a lot of that going on in this culture in terms of just capitalism, period, you know.
Yeah, it was like
And
Madden. I mean, it was like Madden. I mean, this is
for
the real
sure.
Madden. Here you are with the controllers. You're controlling what, Madden 2025, whatever new edition there is. It's this quarterback versus this quarterback. But
Mm,
it's also against the backdrop of Kaepernick taking a stand. It's also against the backdrop
agreed.
of Lou Alcindor, later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and
Hmm.
Jim
Hmm.
Brown
Yes.
holding their protest as athletes saying, we matter, right? And
Sure.
the three brothers at the Olympics putting their fists in the air. Um,
Mhm.
Here comes Kendrick Lamar saying we are part of a game, and I'm not sure that the American people completely understood that political message.
I am not either. In fact, I'm certain that they didn't. As evidenced by my social media feed. There are definitely people on his side, and people who, their jaws were left gaping open, and there were people who kind of like, well, what was that? But no, the symbolism was very clear to me. To take just one example of the American flag that was formed by all the black men on the stage. Grouped together with him in red, white, and blue, while he performed. He performed directly in the center of them. So they form a flag. He's in the center. That's like a nation divided, right? That's
Mm,
also black men dressed as the flag or forming the flag as if, yes, black men form the foundation of this country, in terms of the labor that was put in to make this place the wealthiest nation in the world, right? That's just one example. It's also with the red and the blue together, the black men, the Bloods and the Crips, those are their colors, and they're united, around Kendrick. He comes from Compton, which is an area rife with, the gang violence that happened during the 1980s and 90s.
but they find unity in Kendrick.
For sure, for sure.
Wow,
Just
that's
as they
amazing.
did last year during a concert performance that he did, that was televised on Amazon, where he performed "Not Like Us" 5 times in a row, and brought all kinds of Bloods and Crips and local Compton characters on stage to unify.
Hmm. So it's
Mhm.
possible. It is possible that we can come together. And Kendrick Lamar has given it some thought,
Yes,
poetically, artistically, and his national statement. I mean, it had to have left, and some of the responses from the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States certainly reflect uh, that they were irked by the idea of his performance.
yes, yes. That was my understanding as well. I believe that our president Trump left after the halftime performance, and I don't know if it was in direct response to Kendrick's performance or not. But let's talk a little bit about Uncle Sam being on stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because we don't often see a black Uncle Sam. Period. First of all, but then it was Samuel L. Jackson, right? Who is known for one of his seminal roles as an Uncle Tom sort of figure in Django Unchained, by director Quentin Tarantino, right? A man who went down with the burning house in Django Unchained. So the comments that Jackson was making on stage at the football game during the halftime, you know, sort of telling Kendrick that he was being too ghetto, and that he was acting too reckless, and that what he was performing needed to be toned down. That's definitely what America has been saying to our culture, all along. Like that we need to smooth out the rough edges, and it was all there. It was all it was all pretty clear, pretty clear cut.
Nothing short of brilliant. And I'm glad you brought up the Uncle Sam Samuel L. Jackson cameos, which kind of narrated it forward. But a particular concern, obviously, to me, based on my own life experience, was the very nature of the prison scene and the prison
Sure.
incarceration experience of Black people.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean that's something that's close to Kendrick, in terms of the people he knows that have been incarcerated. It's something that it's imagery that he's put forth before in Grammy performances, for example. Different performances that he's had in the past where he's shown a certain amount of light on the mass incarceration of our people. It's a very big deal. Going back to the Uncle Sam metaphor, it's something that he's toyed with in the past. It's part of his oeuvre. To Pimp a Butterfly had references to Uncle Sam, tempting him, uh To Pimp a Butterfly was sort of an album full of survivor's guilt. You know, it came after a certain amount of Grammy nominations, the most of anyone since Michael Jackson up until that point, and you know, most nominations in a single night. And so To Pimp a Butterfly came off the success of that album, Good Kid, Mad City, and featured Uncle Sam in different skits and different lyrical references, as well as a character named Lucy, which was short for Lucifer, which is, you know, this sort of satanic, you know, temptations, you know, people trying to sort of tempt him, you know, from his path of righteousness and enlightening us all, you know. So yeah, Uncle Sam is something he's been playing with for a while.
You know, Miles, I had to give some reflective thought for the 3 times that I saw the performance, once live at the
Mm.
Super Bowl, twice
Mhm.
today in anticipation of our interview. I
Sure.
called Professor Michael Eric Dyson, who was a
Yes.
seminary professor of mine, and I said, man, listen, I'd love to
Okay.
have you on my show to discuss Kendrick's performance. And he said, listen, there's no one better to look into the mind of Kendrick Lamar other than Miles Marshall Lewis. So we made that connection today, and I'm so impressed. But when I think about our journey,
Thank you.
right? I mean, there's this sense that when we achieve something as African Americans, somehow it comes at the expense of the history of what we know, of what we've experienced as Black people, and therefore, you know, Uncle Sam's sellout image, you know, becomes crystal clear to all of us, right? I mean, it's
Right.
like the Black guy wearing the flag, wearing the suit, but at the same time, it's like Kendrick in the narration is like, I'm not leaving the culture, right? I'm not
Sure.
leaving the struggle. I am going to carry on my back the burden of Black people, because at the end of this struggle, and this may be a stretch, there is a brighter day. There is a beloved community. There is an evolving and a different America. Tell me if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that point of view. You know, what struck me about the end of the literal end of his performance was the last song that he performed was "TV Off," which is from his latest album GNX, and he was admonishing the crowd and the viewing audience to turn their televisions off. You know, at the end, he sort of mimes a clicker to turn the TV off, and we get in the crowd game over, you know. And I think that there's several metaphors there, but you know, one is that we're tired of playing this game with America. You know, that we're not going to play it anymore. You know, the game over. There's also the beef with Drake, and maybe this is, you know, the final phase of that. You know, because he performed "Not Like Us," which was originally a diss track against Drake and has become his most popular song ever. So sure, I mean, on that level, yes, game over. Maybe he's done with the whole Drake thing. But more importantly, I think he was sending a message to the conscious people in the audience, like, okay, you know, we're trapped in this game that America has set up for us in terms of capitalism, in terms of just, you know, being used as the labor of this country, and we're done fooling around. You know, we're done getting played. You know, game over.
You know, I would like for them to publicly make peace, because I think together they, as brothers, they have a contribution to make that could be so extraordinary. I mean, not
Sure, I
the
love that.
old East Coast, West Coast stuff that we went
Right.
through when we were growing up. You know, get this behind them, because the platforms that are being offered to Brother Lamar and Brother Drake have an opportunity to literally change the course of American history. And that's what I saw. I mean,
Sure.
I see that in the courage of Kaepernick and the game. I
Yes.
see that in America's biggest hour, the Super Bowl, where a
Right.
brother had enough courage not to sell out, but to beat the bongos, if you will, that
Yes.
this is going to be televised. You are going to see us with the integrity. And I know that my break is coming up, and I'm going to be coming forward with Miles Marshall Lewis in just a second. But I have to say this. When I think about our history from 1619 to the 13th Amendment, our heads were bowed. we could not look a white man or a white woman in their eyes. And I think about from 1865 to the present and Kendrick Lamar's performance, we got to look white folks right in their eyes at the Super Bowl. And that was a big deal, and our heads were not bowed. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know with BIN News. California properties in the Eaton Fire burn zone are selling fast, with vacant lots going to developers. In a historically black neighborhood, locals fear rapid development could erase their community's heritage. A federal appeals court in New York is upholding R. Kelly's 30-year prison sentence for racketeering and sex trafficking. His lawyer sought to overturn the conviction or get a new trial, but the court rejected it. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson hinted at changes to his administration, saying he should have, quote, cleaned house faster, end quote. Speaking at a Southside church, he noted he tried working with inherited staff, but now says, quote, if you ain't with us, you just gotta go, end quote. And Maryland is joining 21 states in suing the Trump administration for defunding medical research. African-American Attorney General Anthony Brown calls the cuts unlawful, saying they threaten life-saving research at universities and facilities nationwide. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final head coach vacancy in the NFL was filled Wednesday morning. Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore was hired by the New Orleans Saints. Moore's hiring caps an unflattering offseason coaching cycle for the NFL. Of the 7 NFL openings for a head coach position, only 1 went to an African-American. Former Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn was hired by the New York Jets. The NFL will start the 2025 season with only 5 black head coaches, down from 6 in 2024. I'll do the math for you. Only 5 of the NFL's 32 teams have a black head coach. That's 15% of the workforce among NFL head coaches. The other 4 black head coaches are Mike Tomlin at Pittsburgh, Todd Bowles at Tampa Bay, Raheem Morris with Atlanta, and DeMeco Ryan at Houston. The NFL has been a strong believer in diversity, equity, and inclusion, but a lot more work needs to be done. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Keep following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. 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 Follow the leader.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Miles Marshall Lewis, graduate of Morehouse College, pop cultural critic, essayist, literary editor, fiction writer, and music journalist. He is currently the acting cultural historian of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx, New York. He's also the author of a number of books, one of which is The Power and Poetry of Kendrick Lamar. Promise that you will sing about me. Miles Marshall Lewis, what inspired that book?
Well, I feel like I don't listen to as much hip hop as I used to. You know, I'm 54, right? And I have two teenage boys, and a lot of the stuff that they're listening to, you know, is for their generation, and that's how it should be. Hip hop is a youth culture, right? And I feel like Kendrick Lamar was one of the last MCs that I could really get behind in terms of like, yes, he reminds me of everything that I loved about hip hop, everything that I love about my favorite MCs. You know, like my top 5 probably includes Nas, Black Thought, Biggie, you know, Rakim, and a 5th one, and probably Kendrick. You know, but it's like I wanted to write about him, and I wanted to explore his lyricism and where he came from and what he stands for, and you know, the metaphors and similes and you know, the stuff that's embedded in his lyrics and in his albums, because I feel like he's one of the modern MCs that deserves the deep dive.
No, there's absolutely no doubt about that, and I'm glad that you began the process for many of us. His book is available, The Power and Poetry of Kendrick Lamar. Promise that you will sing about me. Kendrick Lamar is an award-winning poet, not just a rapper. This is a serious thinker who has been seen in the framework of Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni, and he also performed at the Super Bowl. And the brilliance of that is exactly what it is. I want to go back to Samuel L. Jackson, not only as the Uncle Tom in the Django, right? Not only, and before that, let's just be honest, Samuel L. Jackson has been and is, like Richard Roundtree, a kind of African-American male tough ass bravado.
For sure, he played Shaft.
Yeah, he played Shaft, but don't forget he also got his ass kicked good in Eddie Murphy's movie Breaking into a McDonald's.
That's very true as well. It's very true as well. From
there, he has been the effing effer of MFers in the history of MFers. So here this guy is playing Uncle Sam, and he's known not only as the guy who's, you know, played the Uncle Tom, but he's also the guy who said, you know, F this and F that. Right. And it's against the backdrop of Kendrick's brilliant performance. Let's hang around Uncle Sam for a moment. What did that moment mean for you?
Yeah, well, you know, it was deep. You know, like I wasn't sure exactly where he was going with it, but then I quickly got that, okay, so Sam Jackson is going to be the voice of America, and Kendrick is going to represent, the black folks, the underclass, the foundation of this country, and it's going to be this conversation that they're having, that has been had in this country for the past 400 years, but I think that overall, Kendrick's performance, it was what impressed me the most about it was the subversion. It was very subversive, for Kendrick to come on and to perform 13 minutes, to know that he had the biggest audience ever, and to say the things that he said, and for it to be, I mean, let's face it, we have our own dog whistles as well. It's not only it's not only the right they can dog whistle, you know what I mean? So it's like, for the conscious of us who had our 3D glasses on, we were able to see, in 3D what was happening, what he was trying to show us, what he was trying to tell us. I think that he could have easily just made it sort of a greatest hits collection, of songs that he didn't end up performing that night, and been just a lot more surface about it. But he was not. He was not that. He chose that time to promote his latest record, frankly, because most of the songs from that performance were from an album that he released like less than 6 months ago. He threw in some pop hits, but he made it in a way that he was obvious about serving the audience during that section of the performance, because it was bracketed by Sam Jackson telling him to tone things down, and to smooth it out, and so he did that briefly before going back into what he wanted to do.
We're going to be analyzing this for quite some time. When I think about Serena Williams and her 73
Right.
world titles, right? I mean,
right.
She's been trying to say something for a minute. I mean, she done cussed out officials. She done cussed out judges. She done said, "Wait a minute, I don't believe you all are treated. This person's taking too long of a break." I mean, she's been trying to say something for a minute, and
Indeed.
it's still coming because she ain't said it yet.
Well, listen,
she stood up in the Super Bowl.
she got in trouble doing that same crip walk that was featured, in the performance at the Super Bowl. She got in trouble at Wimbledon for doing that. I guess they fined her, or they smacked her on the wrist, whatever they did. And so for Kendrick to give her the platform to do that, unabashedly, for a couple of seconds, on camera, that was a great moment. That was one of the great moments of the performance.
And just a couple of years ago, the Super Bowl, the NFL told Snoop Dogg, "You better not do it."
Right. Exactly.
You better not do it. They did it anyway. Right.
Right. So, so here it comes again.
There's a resistance. This is who we are. I mean, we're Americans. I am somebody. We are black too.
Yes.
I mean, I can't understand. On the one hand, you borrow from Jesse Jackson, who largely appropriated a poem, "I Am Somebody." You play it as part of the NFL's thinking. Then you turn to Kaepernick, right? And you say he's nobody, right? We won't give him a shot at the quarterback. We got two black quarterbacks here, and we're in this particular political context and circumstance. And here comes Kendrick Lamar playing the bongos, saying that we're over here speaking in African.
It was very cool, It's very cool. I mean, for you to introduce the whole thing, talking about roots, I feel like there's a deep history of our people speaking through the drum, and we say this a lot at the Hip Hop Museum, that like the turntables, of hip hop culture are like the new drum, and the beats that are underneath, so much of rap music. It's like the new drum, and we communicate intraculturally, through hip hop. And for Kendrick to use his platform as like the first hip hop performer, to be able to like do the whole Super Bowl by himself as a rapper, he used his moment, well, and impressively.
It is my hope that CNN and MSNBC and other national platforms are listening to Miles Marshall Lewis on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, he has some insights on what the Democrats and the Republicans are missing, what the conservatives and liberals are missing, and what the other half of America think and are thinking about the context within which we live as interpreted through the lens and the eyes of Kendrick Lamar. Give him a chance. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. When we come forward, Miles Marshall Lewis will be our special guest.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has a program specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to resolve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part, they accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Miles Marshall Lewis, cultural critic, essayist, literary editor, fiction editor, music journalist, and currently the acting cultural historian of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx, New York. Miles, I'm almost 60 years old. I got you by about 5 years, right? So let's just call 5 years a generation.
Okay.
In a real way, those of us who enjoyed hip hop when we were much younger, we enjoyed the lyrics. We enjoyed Grandmaster Flash. He was talking much garbage from New York, right? We heard it all. Curtis Blow. I mean, then the transition to Pac and to Biggie's, cultural sensitivity, their political angles. They kept it real. But now hip hop in a real political sense is coming of age. I mean, we're owning the flag now, kind of new patriotism. We're owning the American narrative, and we're also saying we're responsible for the American narrative. And against the backdrop of history, I think, there are no human rights in America until the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. There's not a human right until you have a human right not to be born in slavery. So I don't care what the first 10 amendments say. You have a right not to be born in slavery, right? And then for women, there's a right in the 19th Amendment to have the right to vote in a democracy. And for our generation, well, Kendrick's generation and the younger generation, the 18-year-olds have a right to vote in the 26th Amendment. And so here comes Kendrick Lamar. And this generation of activists, if you will, Tavis Smiley on our station says that he is an activist journalist. Now I think we're hearing from activist poets. I don't want to call Kendrick a rapper. I don't want to just dismiss him. An activist artist.
Yes.
Along the lines of Sammy Davis, who says, I want to go in the front door. I don't want to go in the back. Yes. Along the lines of Harry Belafonte, who says, this is a performance with dignity, and those who've had to stand up against, great odds without bowing their heads. Kendrick is a turning point in the integrity of the hip hop community, is he not?
Yeah, I feel that. I lived through the social consciousness of hip hop that took place in the late 80s with the artists that I mentioned earlier, spearheaded really by Public Enemy. And, going back to the message, Grandmaster Flash, as you explained, and Furious 5, and Melly Mel, really, who rapped throughout that song that Grandmaster Flash didn't actually appear on. But I feel that it is true that Kendrick is bringing sort of a political consciousness, political awareness back to hip hop, that's been sort of absent since hip hop took over as the dominant pop culture of our times. In the 21st century, it's been a little weird. Kanye West, right? Has just been sort of bounced from different platforms just days ago for selling like swastika t-shirts, on his website, Yeezy.com, which is absolutely crazy, on top of saying that slavery is a choice years ago and, doing other kind of nuts stuff. So, it's refreshing, to know that that hip hop is not on the shoulders of just one person like Kanye, for example.
Yeah.
There are different viewpoints, and that there are people who still know what they're talking about, and are spreading their message, to their listeners in a way that is positive, and it gets them to go down certain rabbit holes and open certain books and whatnot.
So there's been an attack on the culture, the very culture
Always.
that the hip hop community has been at the spearhead of for the last, I'd say, 30, 35, maybe 40 years. Um, Miles, where is this going? Where are we going? Is there
Right.
going to be a higher level of consciousness? We saw the reaction to the Black Lives Matter movement after the
Sure.
death of George Floyd
Sure.
and Trayvon Martin and the killing of Breonna Taylor and other innocents.
Right.
Where's this going?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it back to that social consciousness era. It was the late 80s, the mid 80s to late 80s. And what was going on in the country at that time, with Jesse Jackson running for president and Ronald Reagan, running things, and Reaganomics and the right. I think that hip hop was like a cultural reaction, to what was going on then in terms of, the policies that were coming down, even under Clinton and the three strikes law and stuff like that. I think that with Trump being in charge and doing such egregious things in his first 100 days, in his first 14 days of his presidency, that hip hop is going to step up to the plate as it usually does, and form sort of a counter narrative to that, a counter narrative of resistance, as it usually does. I mean, that's one of its primary roles. People used to call rap the voice of the voiceless, but the truth is that we've always had a voice, in one way or another, especially talking to each other, about how to overthrow this thing, and stand up for ourselves, and get the rights that we deserve. And I think that it's going to boil down in the next 4 years to community, amongst each other. And definitely one of the ways that we come together in the community is through hip hop, and through the messages therein. And I think that Kendrick and other MCs are going to continue to speak to our times, in ways that we need to hear, and to let us mobilize.
Good for them. I mean, basketball's an integrated game now. There was a time when it wasn't.
Right.
Football's an integrated game now. I mean, dominated overwhelmingly by African American athletes. So much of the culture to which hip hop speaks, certainly in the sports entertainment area, these people, these young people in college and high schools, they are the beneficiaries of integration, of desegregation.
Yes.
Some of our best friends are white. Everybody got some white. Everybody got a good. My boy right here. He's a white boy, but he's my boy, right? And so every black guy's got. I got a good white friend, right?
Sure.
So I mean, we've grown up kind of like different than our parents.
Oh yeah.
Because this is different. And so Kendrick Lamar's message. I mean, I saw some white girls and some white guys repeating Kendrick's lyrics at the Super Bowl while their parents were sitting there like, what's he saying?
Sure.
What's
Sure.
he saying?
Sure.
There is an opportunity for coalition building and an interconnectedness that maybe Dr. King envisioned, that maybe others of our leaders envisioned. Maybe Barack Obama saw it. Maybe Kamala saw it. But there's an opportunity there. And let me allow you, given our final minute, to have some thoughts about that and also take us out of here.
Sure. I mean, like we were saying off camera, it wasn't Jagger, this was not the Rolling Stones, this was Kendrick Lamar, our first, solo rapper to carry the entire Super Bowl halftime. And, the times they are changing, as Dylan once said, it's time for the new generation to speak our truth to power, to speak their truth to power, since they're younger than I am. And Kendrick is definitely one of their major voices, and it's almost time for him to pass the baton, You know, he's getting up there in age and up there in discography, and you know, he's about to be corny to the kids who are generation beta or whatever they're gonna call it, you know. And so you know, they're gonna have their own things to say, and I look forward to hearing them.
Miles Lewis, I hope you'll be a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jew Show. I am so glad that you spent this time with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, D.L. Hughley.